Chapter 29. We're in the home stretch, chapter 29 and 30, and we're done. So it begins to rain harder in chapter 29 while they're picking cotton. Rain means no work, which means no food. So things were going pretty well for them. They were working, they were making money, but because of rain, again, it's the cruel irony of the Jode's life. Because of the drought, they couldn't make money. And now it's because of the rain, they can't make money. Page 434, just like in chapter 1, the women looked to the men to see if they would break. If you remember way back in chapter 1, we talked about the women and children feared, basically, when the men would break. As long as the men didn't break, they knew that any hardship could be undertaken, I guess, or survived. Did they break? No. What they did is they fought back. And it's been most of this book so far that Ma has been the boss. You know, she's the Ma father, if you will. But now Pa, this is Pa basically symbolically taking back his manhood and being a leader of the family again in what is about to be a failed attempt at building a dam. 'Cause we're to build a dam. Kind of rough. This is a rough chapter. Chapter 30, Rose of Sharon's in labor. She's having a baby in the middle of this rainstorm. It's about to flood. Like everything, you're like, you know, how could anything go worse for this family? And everything just falls apart, like at the same time. The men, led by Pa, they don't move their cars. Instead, they're going to build a dam. And their efforts are successful. They're all working together. They're fighting back against the elements. And they succeeded for a minute, and then a tree fell and wrecked their dam and flooded all their cars, and now they're all ruined. So again, these people, like it's working, and then everything's a disaster. It's almost funny, like how awful everything goes for them. Rose of Sharon's baby is stillborn, which means it's dead when it's born. It was choked by its umbilical cord, and of course they didn't have doctors and stuff. It was just bunch of people in a boxcar delivering a baby, you know, just how people do in a boxcar. It's pretty sad, though, after everything that the baby is born and it's dead. It's blue because it's suffocated to death. Uncle John, his job is to take care of the baby, and he does this really weird thing, probably because he's Uncle John and he's really strange. He puts it in an apple box, hopefully not the same apple box George and Lenny had in the bunkhouse. But he puts it in an apple box and he floats it down the river to the town to show them what they've done to them. Now, this is really weird. Symbolically, this is supposed to be like baby Moses, like floated down the river. We get some biblical imagery here. And he's supposed to be, you know, showing them like, you're killing us, you're killing our children. But in real life, if you think about what he did, he put a dead baby in a box and floated it down a river. I would have to think the people on the other end are not going to take that symbolically. They're probably going to be like, look at these filthy Okies. Like, look at what they do with their children. Like, it's not a good look. So if you have both perspectives, Uncle John is trying to make this symbolic statement, but it's really just pretty gross. And he should not have done that. How'd the men treat Pa after all their vehicles got ruined? Not real well, as I'm sure you would imagine. He kind of deserved it, but I don't know. It just is what it is at this point. Ma says, used to be family was blessed. It ain't so now. It's anybody. Worse off we get, the more we got to do, which is the truth. As this book has gone on, the worse they have it, the worse it gets. It just keeps, it's like compounds on itself. And again, like the worse the weather, there's Rose of Sharon's having a baby, Pa has a failed dam, everything's flooding, and it's like they never get a break. They never get a break. Their only break was Weed Patch. Let's talk about the end of the story. So the end of the story, the Jodes escape. Al is left behind to keep an eye on things. For whatever reason, he stays and they go with the Wainwrights, which, keep in mind, Aggie Wainwright is his fiance now. They decided to get married, which is good news. You know, everybody loves a good marriage in a boxcar, you know. This Al is going to be leaving the family. He's going to be starting his own family. Al's been a stand-up character he's been like one of the only Jodes that hasn't been a burden to the family, which is kind of a shame that he's leaving because they really could use him. but he's kind of going his own direction now, which is good for him. I kind of, in terms of like a character, I'm happy for him because he needs to get out of the situation because these people are just a disaster at this point. So the Jodes escape to higher ground. Ruthie sees a single geranium, which is supposed to be some type of symbolic like spring and rebirth and hope, but I mean, I don't know if there's a whole lot of that in this book. They find shelter in a barn, some guy's barn, and there's a man in there who's starving to death. And if you read the end of the book, you're probably like, whoa, what just happened? Yeah, that just happened. What you think happened is what happened. So she breastfeeds this man to help give him nourishment to bring him back to life. A grown man, a stranger, which is not something people do for good reason. But here's what Steinbeck is doing besides trying to just totally gross you out at the end of the book. He's trying to show how Rose of Sharon symbolically is not selfish, not immature. In fact, she's willing to give herself up, her pride, her everything to save another person's life because that's what she's doing. She's saving this guy's life. So as gross and terrifying as it is, that's what she's doing. And she's like symbolic of Mother Earth, like feeding the children and all this kind of stuff. So it's kind of a weird way to go, though. It's a really weird end of the book, but that's what happens. Steinbeck holds no punches. He gets real weird at the end. So that's it for our Google slide notes, and have fun finishing up your study guides.